fight to free this planet.
You don't care about the people of Kairos. You're here for the vault. You're just a murdered tourist, a grave robber, shooting and looting your way through piles of people who never wanted you here. You already doomed this planet and all the others when you freed Lilith.
timekeeper's ego. I must be drawing close.
I am enjoying a moment to myself. Stargazing. Join me, if you like. Just think, Vault Hunter.
If you had never arrived, we would still have futures, gleaming and bright, within the Timekeeper's crystalline order.
But now we all will die. Every last soul. Because of you and your chaos.
My diagnosis? You got a bag when you need immediate medical attention.
All I have ever known is forever. That is my use. Forever. Here. As the clock ticks, I remain still. My order is eternal. You are a moment that shall soon pass. So let's enjoy it. I rise to my destiny. Enough! Oh, free will. A rampant tumor, killing my perfect system. And why should you get to be free? All you do is destroy, while I must hold back chaos for eternity!
You think you're the prisoner? You did all of this yourself.
Is that what I look like through the eyes of a Vault Hunter? Someone who has a choice. I was given an order.
If you dare.
Everything breaks. Even cages.
So, the timekeepers.
Yeah, I didn't play any music for that part, because why would I? It's just too quick. Unlike my Vex minion build, who actually had a fight. Well, she killed the first phase of the Timekeeper so fast that I didn't do music there either, but the second phase, she actually had, took her, just under 2 minutes or something like that. Which, I mean, for that kind of build, I think is still pretty fast, but yeah, here it's 15 seconds. And as you'll see in the build, and I'll explain more, it's I still need to get one more passive. If I ever get the perfect rep kit with Accelerator, I'll probably get rid now with Caffeine for Riddle You This.
final challenge. A pity. I was starting to like you.
Yeah, just like with the Timekeeper boss, this boss is way too quick to warrant music at all. I'm just gonna blink and kill him here real quick. I will point out, just as you saw, like, the biggest annoyance is always freaking elemental eaters. Like, the cryo elemental eaters are just the absolute worst. And you saw I suddenly had, of course, now fodder elemental eaters I'm usually able to kill quick enough before they're able to massively stack up their healing. But the elite enemies, whenever they're elemental eaters for Frost on this guy, or fire for my Vex minion build, because all her minions always do incendiary damage. And then I have to switch to Spectres, or that's what I do on Vex, is like I switch to my Spectres and not use incendiary to kill those annoying enemies when I find them. And this guy, I gotta stop what I'm doing and like, okay, that's another reason I have the beam toss shotguns. It's like, okay, I have 3 different elements on beam toss shotguns to just do a boatload of damage when needed against an elemental eater annoying enemy. Because yeah, as you keep damaging them, they just heal faster and faster. So that's how I killed that elite enemy before. I hate the freaking elemental eaters. They are just so stupid. There's no challenge, by the way. They shouldn't exist. No one can tell me it's because that makes the game challenging. It's not challenging, it's just annoying. Because I'm already invincible. They can't do anything to me. They just simply stop me from massacring until I switch to a different gun to kill them. While in the meantime, they can't do anything to me anyway. They're basically waiting to die, is all they're doing. So anyone who tries to convince you that it somehow adds to the challenge of the game is just full of it. It's just nonsense. They need to get rid of that crap right now because it's just so annoying. I love combat. Just one random enemy out of thousands dying by the bucket loads constantly. Just one random one will just simply stay there and like, nope, you gotta... I still can't do anything to you, but you gotta do something to me eventually once you figure out what you gotta do. Or, I mean, sometimes I literally just leave. Like, I just don't even kill them. I'm just like, screw this, I'm out of here. if it's an enemy I don't have to kill. I'm like, screw the elemental eaters. So yeah, I just had to rant on that a little bit. As always, just pause the video here as I go through each slide of what I'm using. You know, the big thing is, I mean, I have a perfect rocket launcher. Is like perfect roll DPS rocket launcher. Most usually only go around like 23 to 25,000 for the same kind of thing. I will say if you do have that rocket launcher instead, the build's of course still worth it. You'll probably still kill mobs almost just as fast. Bosses will take a little bit longer, but not much. I mean, probably you're looking at like a 20-25 second fight with the second phase of the Timekeeper boss, one of the tankiest bosses too. Over 15 seconds here. And just like me, you still need to get rid of you this, which will further increase the damage too. Because that's the thing, what I want to get is a perfect rep kit eventually that has Accelerator and Go-Go Gadget and is an order rep kit, a mini one. Which is why I don't know if I'll ever find it, because it has to be perfect. It's got to be a mini, because I need the cooldown. It's got to be order, because I also need the charges for the cooldown to maintain my Scourge forever. And it's got to have Go-Go Gadget, and it's got to have Accelerator. So, if anyone ever finds that and wants to trade, I mean, I'll trade anything I have for it at this point, because it's a perfect roll rep kit for this build. But whenever I do get that, it'll help with the maintaining of Scourge. I want the Accelerator, and I want to be able to do stuff like that, because the thing is, even though I can maintain Scourge forever, that's not always the case, because load screens and fast traveling to players, all that, especially in co-op, it's so hard, because all the loading time resets your freaking skill. So you have to go right back to the 60-second cooldown on Scourge every single time. It's so annoying. So that's why I need some sort of utility. I just want a utility to help with that. It's really mostly for co-op. And that's what I'm using now with Caffeine. But once I get that rep kit, I'm going to get rid of Now with Caffeine to slap on Riddle You This, because that should be yet another decent damage boost to everything I use, since it's a good gun damage boost, and then that in turn fuels my ordnance damage, and it double fuels my rocket launcher again for boss killing, because rocket launcher gets damage from gun damage, and then it gets ordnance damage, which is getting boosted by gun damage. So I know my rocket launcher will rack up Riddle You This, and it'll basically just be increasing its own damage constantly, and then increasing my taunt damage. That's the thing I also love about this build. The taunt is just the perfect thing to use on it. Because if you didn't notice, in some of my mobbing here in these videos, a lot of the fodder enemies were either almost dead or dying before I even got a chance to shoot them with something, because my taunt alone was like killing them that fast sometimes. Because of all the bonuses to Ordnance and the crit hit chance on Ordnance, and then the damage over time it activates from Tail of the Comet and Blackout. 2 different status effects, damage over time. It's just, there's nothing better when it comes to just widespread AoE damage. And once I get rid of this, not only will it help my single target damage, it'll help my AoE taunt too, because it'll be constantly getting boosted by me just shooting things. Then everything is getting boosted by me shooting things. So that's why this build is it's just an amazing build, I'd say. I would actually aver that it is one of the best builds in the game. I'm not kidding. Because you have to consider all the factors to it. I mean, first off, again, I'm missing another passive, which should boost its boss killing even more. But even as it stands right now, like, it takes me 15 seconds to kill the second phase of the Timekeeper. I can kill the first phase in literally a blink of an eye, as you saw. Almost every other boss in the game, soloing, I can just kill in the blink of an eye. Pretty much almost, and for all practical purposes, it's almost just as fast as the popular meta builds out there for all the other different characters. Because all the one-shot builds take a few seconds just to set up their combo during the boss encounter. So like if you're on a boss-killing Rafa or a boss-killing Harlow build, or even Vex build, you don't just simply shoot once and kill the boss. You still have to set up a combo almost always to then rack up a crap load of damage that then kills the boss. So no matter what, every video I've seen out there for like one-shot builds that are just max DPS builds, they all take at least a few seconds to kill any boss in the game. It's always a few seconds at least. And now I've reached that point on this build for at least most of the bosses. Now again, the hardest bosses I take longer than they do, no doubt. It takes a little bit to kill the second phase of the Timekeeper. But again, I'm still missing even more damage, which would further help. Maybe bring it down to 10 seconds on him when I do that. And I mean, it's just... So I can do that, right? But then I'm also a completely invincible tank in every way. I am the tankiest you can possibly be in this game. Because I'm on Amon with the shield buffs, but then I also have the percentage-based shield healing from my skill tree. And then I'm using Scourge, which gives me literal damage immunity, for everything in front of me. And I'm able to maintain Scourge forever. So, at the very end, I actually took a bunch of damage just because I timed my ordnance wrong against the War Elephant boss. The War Elephant boss does a ton of damage, too, just so you know. He's one of the highest damaging bosses in the game if you get hit by all the stuff he lobs at you at the same time. Yeah, from what I've seen, as a tank player, I already know he's one of the hardest hitting bosses. And so, but my ordnance, my launcher wasn't ready, and so I started using my beam tossers, which is why I have them, because then I just cycle the beam toss shotguns, and that alone can usually kill any of the basic bosses like that one relatively quickly too. But I didn't realize my vengeance meter was full, so I was taking damage through my through my shield, and yeah, it took me down to like half my shield, I think. But that was more of just a mistake on my part. But the point is like I wasn't even paying attention, and I was taking full damage. Well, not full, but a boatload of damage from the War Elephant standing in place, and it still didn't. It still mostly just tickled me. But I mean, most of the time, my vengeance meter won't be filled because I'll be shooting my rocket launcher. I'll deliberately have the sight aimed down so I can use up vengeance meter. That's another great thing about that taunt ability. The fact it lets you use up vengeance with your guns, if you just aim down the sights, is great for maintaining the invincibility of Scourge. So I can just simply always have the invincibility mode on it active as I'm just aiming down the sight, basically, without having to waste precious, moments going to my Forge Wave. My Forge Waves are just a bonus on this build. That's all they are. It's really a infinite ordnance build, with even some gunplay between not using infinite ordnance. Because every time you use our rep kit, it takes away your ordnance. That's why I want Go-Go Gadget, because Go-Go Gadget, as you see, mitigates that. So pretty much no matter how my magazine capacity is when I use a rep kit, it's only at most a few second wait time to use my rocket launcher again. But as you see, most of the time it's no time at all. It's like 1 second, which is literally just I use my rep kit, and then the animation I use it, I'm ready to use my rocket launcher again, is how it works. That's why I love this build, because it's infinite ordnance, but also infinite Scourge. Infinite Scourge, too. And like the perfect class mod for it to maintain Scourge, or you can actually use Onslaughter on this build if you want to go that route. In fact, you would actually do more damage with your rocket launcher if you did that, because then it would get bonus incendiary damage. Your rocket launcher would be dealing cryo, shock, and incendiary on everything. And then you'd still be an invincible tank because you just have infinite Onslaughter instead of infinite Scourge. So you wouldn't have invincibility, but you would just have an even more crazy amount of shield regen that it wouldn't matter. Now, why do I not do that? Well, because I prefer Scourge, because I prefer the infinite invincibility. I like having the Forge Waves as an option because they still do... basically, the Forge Waves do good damage when my Vengeance meter is filled up. And then they do... If it's not filled up, they do, mediocre damage. But as you see, I've noticed they're really good for dealing with flyers. Because besides the elite flyers, which I can always switch to my rocket launcher and end them really quickly, all the swarms of fodder flying enemies, well, then I just spam my Scourge, and then combining that with my taunt spamming, because that taunt still hits them in the sky. So then they're taking constant damage over time from both the Forge Waves and taunting. Because Forge Waves, I can just spam it forever. There's no reload, and they have a ridiculously big AoE that I've noticed, like, it's so easy to hit flying enemies with Forge Waves because they just have such a giant AoE to them. So that it's so hard to, as long as you're just shooting in the general direction that they are or will be, you're almost guaranteed to land them constantly, as you see in these videos. That's also why comparing this to my Vex minion build, I did the exact same stuff, right? In my previous video, I did my Vex minion. I did every single one of these missions the exact same way. And as you see, comparing the two, my Amon is tankier than Vex minion build. My Amon clears mobs a little bit faster than Vex minion build. He kills bosses way faster than Vex minion build. And even when it comes to the flyers, like, I think my Vex with the 3 Spectres probably handles flyers. That's the only thing she handles a little bit better than my Amon. But as you see, even against flyers, my Amon is not too bad. And if anything, I could just switch to a homing rocket launcher, which I've thought about, just carrying a homing rocket launcher just for flyers. I wouldn't use it against bosses or whatever because it always does less DPS than the straight shooting rocket launcher does. But yeah, against flyers, you can always just have a second rocket launcher that's a homing one that you switch to just to deal with the flying enemies, and then you're good to go. So yeah, I mean, basically, like, this build is as good as my Vex minion tank build, and in some areas, and then better than it's in every other area. So basically, it's a better build. There's just no question about it. Amon Ordnance, like, tank build is superior as a pure casual build to the minion Vex build in endgame. Early game, no, of course not. But endgame, yeah, it definitely is way better. But again, even comparing it to the DPS, the boss killing builds out there, I would actually argue this is probably even better than them, because usually a lot of those builds can't clear mobs as fast as this one can. Then even if they can do both bossing and mobbing, they're never as tanky. Of course, it usually doesn't matter because, you can just survive anyway. But for me, that's just a personal preference. I like knowing that I am also an invincible tank, and that's the thing. Like, this build is totally invincible. And it's the classic tank, too. I even draw aggro. Like, I even do that. I draw aggro to me, too. So I heal my teammates, and I draw aggro, and I debuff all the enemies. So it's also a super great co-op build, too. So it's a super good co-op carrying build. Super good boss build, super good mobbing build, and the tankiest you can possibly be in this game. Like, Amon is tankier than the other characters easily when you do this kind of version on him. So for all those people who rank Amon lower than the other characters, like, I just completely disagree. For my style, Amon is the best, hands down. I'm trying Rafa. I'm still going to try and do Rafa, but I can already tell Rafa will not be as good for my style here as Amon is. And one last thing on that note, another reason I like this build is because it is not a setup build. There's no setup. You don't have to get crits. I mean, you get crits, but it's just chance. You don't have to land them. You just point and shoot till they die, and it kills the bosses almost as fast as those setup builds do. So that are out there. So I'm like, yeah, that's why I think if you could even argue this build's better than them in some way. Once you get rid of this and a better rep kit, then it definitely could be better, I'd say. It's just the ultimate, like, casual build, but yet it also competes with the meta builds out there. So that's why it's like, I don't know. I'd say it's in top dogs now for builds out there that I've seen. And I've seen a lot of Moxie's builds too, and I'm like, dude, this Amon build is crazy. And, I don't even use the Atling gun because, again, I don't want to use the miniguns because they all tend to have, although I don't actually know if the Atling gun does. So I you know what? Because I don't even have it yet. But I know every other minigun in this game has a long cooldown, and you don't want a long cooldown ordnance on this build since you're always popping rep kits to maintain Scourge, which puts you back into cooldown. So obviously, like, a 30-second cooldown on the rocket launcher is perfect because even if I use up half my mag by the time I use a rep kit randomly, then it's half that cooldown, and then it gets halved further by Go-Go Gadget when I pop the rep kit, so then it only becomes a few seconds, usually at most, that I have to wait. Whereas, if I was using a minigun, it could potentially be like 20, even 30 seconds when that happens. Now, of course, it's easier to maintain your ammo on a minigun, but still, with the recoil on them too, like, if you miss so many shots, like, I don't know. But you know what? Whenever I get Atlan Gun and other legendary ordinances, I'll try it with this build. Maybe you can make it even better with those. And if that's the case, I mean, the versions I've seen in that for Amon don't use Scourge or Onslaught, or at least an infinite duration for them like we do here. So that's why I would say it's like, no, I still say this is better than them because I'm able to maintain my skill forever, which means I'm able to maintain total invincibility on Amon forever too. I'm like, that's just too good to pass up while still also having an infinite ordnance build that still destroys bosses in a few seconds, and you don't have to do anything except just shoot them.